Welcome to Clio Economía Latam. This is part of the project PIDE 2025, Economista, Economía e Historia de América Latina from the Facultad de Estudios Superiores de Acatlán. Today we have the honor to talk with Dr. Thomas Clarke from the Sydney University, and we thank you, Doctor, for being here. And if you want to answer these questions, I'm going to talk about the climate economy. So the first one is, how is it possible that the countries that contributed the least to global warming are now the ones suffering its worst consequences?
This is a tragedy, and it's very real, and we've known about it for a long time. And the developing economies have been campaigning for the United Nations climate conventions to consider the ways in which the developing world can be compensated, because it is the responsibility of the richer economies that the developing economies are now experiencing the pollution and the environmental degradation that was caused by the wealth generation, or it's called wealth generation of the advanced countries. But these dilemmas are ongoing. The negotiations are far from complete, and the UN and other institutions have to support the developing economies in their campaign, and the advanced economies have to recognize their responsibilities. At times they've made some agreements. Obama offered $100 million, I think it was, and that was accepted but regarded only as a down payment.
Okay.
We're talking about really hundreds of billions of dollars that need to be transferred to the developing economies over a period of time, if any climate justice is to be achieved. Look, this could be in the form of individual projects, for example, farming development or water projects or specific projects. So it doesn't have to be simply in cash. It can be investment in important projects to develop the environment of the poorer economies.
Okay, so following that line, you think that the developed countries should pay a climate debt to all that regions, right?
Effectively, yes.
Yeah, and you mentioned some projects, not only cash or money. Which ones of those, if I may ask, you think they are the most important ones that should be attended or should be looking for to develop in Latin America?
Well, certainly water projects to help provide access to clean water.
Okay.
Reforestation projects, other infrastructure projects that don't involve harm to the environment, but help to make urban areas or rural areas more accessible. In terms of engineering, introducing greater access to clean energy and to renewable
energy sources,
and the list would include all of the new technologies. Yeah.
Okay. What will happen to Latin America if global temperatures rise above 2 degrees Celsius? You think we are prepared for that scenario?
I don't think any economy or any society is prepared for that scenario, and it looks like it's going to be more than 2 degrees. We're already on track for a 2-degree increase, but it's potentially going to be higher, and the consequences compound themselves with each individual degree of additional warming. And the consequences are complex in terms of environmental and ecology, farming, living, So these are not simple problems to be resolved. They are complex ones, but the developing world does need all of the advanced science and technology, and especially the digital technology that's available to make their lives more livable, and to give them the economic infrastructure to ensure that they can generate wealth too.
Why do you think is climate vulnerability so tightly connected to economic and territorial inequality in the region?
Unfortunately, inequality tends to be compounding. So the advanced economies moved into the developing economies over 2 centuries of industrialization, in which they stripped out all of the minerals and resources of the developing economies, and also took over their agriculture and converted it into commercialized agriculture rather than subsistence agriculture. And these compounding problems have continued with a dependency relationship in which it's the advanced economies, it used to be the West, and now China is acting in this role, are very dominant in large continental parts of the world, including Africa and South America, where they are becoming the masters of economic growth and direction. And this is wrong. There should be democratic participation in all of these countries about the direction of their economies.
Which Latin American solutions, local, community-driven, indigenous, or technological, could reshape the global climate narrative, you think? The most important ones.
That's a very
that's a tough one. I know.
Question, but look, I'm really interested in indigenous agriculture and traditional agricultures, and what we can learn. That is, we being the advanced industrial economies, from those sustainable and traditional agricultural forms. Effectively, we have to learn, that is, we being the advanced industrial economies, have to learn to live in harmony with the ecology. And that's something that indigenous communities have done for tens of thousands of years. So instead of the arrogance of colonialism, we have to understand the genius and the science of environmentalism and of living in harmony with the ecology, that the indigenous people find it's natural for them. It's that they understand those principles which we have to learn from them.
It's like return to balance, right?
It is,
something like that, just to sustain and and not just production and commerce.
Yes.
Do you think it's realistic to expect a fast energy transition in Latin America when the region faces debt, poverty, and technological limitations?
I'm not sure whether the word fast is appropriate, because there needs obviously to be a technological and economic development of the regions of the world which are currently underdeveloped and in poverty. But I think that development has to be careful and conscious and intelligent, and the essentials need to be attended to. What the people of the developing world need is access to water, access to fertile land, and access to clean air, and the simple financing for crops and for trade. And these things are not complex. That they can be done if there is sufficient funds, and if there is sufficient collaboration with the more advanced markets. And I do think that there's more a recognition in the advanced economies that they do have these responsibilities.
Okay. And finally, you kind of mentioned in some ways that one of the most important parts of this process is collaboration and like a reshape of mentality for the way we view the economy, the land, the structure. And the last question will be like bounded to this. If the climate crisis is global, Why do we keep acting as if the impacts were an individual rather than a structural responsibility, you think?
Right, that's a tough one. Look, we have been developing a greater internationalism, globalism of a responsible kind in terms of the United Nations efforts now going back decades. And at times, the UN environmental conventions have seemed to be sites of important advances and understandings between the countries of the world. And Paris was in 2015 was the classic illustration of the superpowers and the hundreds of smaller countries of the world coming together and reaching some global understandings. It appeared, and the commitments that were made to keep global warming below 1.5 degrees. It was an inspiring moment in human history. There were hundreds of countries represented there by their presidents, including the president of China and the United States, coming to agreements. Unfortunately, that consensus and that common humanity and collaboration has diminished in the last 10 years, big blocks have gone their own way. China has gone in one direction, America has become a maverick state, and Europe is doing its best to balance things, but it is in disarray, and it's a disarray that could damage fundamentally the effort to deal with global climate change. There has to be better understandings, but I'm still optimistic. For example, I did work in China when it was very polluted in the 1990s, and they realized that they were losing their environment and suffering profound health consequences. And as a result, the government put in enormous amounts of money into renewable technologies, into batteries and solar. And now they're the leading batteries and solar manufacturer in the world, and they've made these technologies very much more accessible to other economies, and they've played a leading role in this, and I think it's to be commended. Unfortunately, America, which has such immense potential to facilitate similar beneficial changes in the global environment, is in an ambiguous position. The super tech companies, the big tech companies in America say they can do it and say they want to do it, but they seem to have selfish interests as well, which are informing their behavior, in which they can capture actually the economies of the world for their own purposes of profit making. And the American government itself has gone from being involved and responsible in its assessment of its role in helping the other regions of the world under, say, the Obama and the Biden administrations, to being cruelly irresponsible and, in fact, stupid in damaging not only their own economy, the United States economy, but damaging the economies of the rest of the world in fostering further investment in fossil fuels and other dangerous industries, and this level of irresponsibility is unbelievable. How a country could flip from having the most advanced technologies and understandings of their responsibilities in the world to being money hungry for wealth and riches in the way of 19th century robber barons, which Donald Trump represents, perfectly. He's an irresponsible and greedy, avaricious political leader who is damaging not only the American economy and the American people, he's damaging the stability of the world. I mean, this man is truly irresponsible in the most profound sense of the word.
Yeah, he's a very self-centered way to control. Yeah, well, that was the last one, Doctor. We want to thank you for your time and to be here in the Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México. It
Okay,
was a
thank you.
very pleasure.
Thank you. It was a great
Have you
pleasure for
here.
me too.
Thank you.